Come on, Vengeance. Let's get into some trouble.
The Batman has landed on HBO Max, meaning you can obsessively rewatch the Caped Crusaders' latest cinematic adventure from the comfort of your own home. But if you really want to uncover every last secret hidden in this dark, disturbing thriller, you need a little outside help. That's where the new book, The Art of the Batman, comes in. It's a treasure trove of trivia for obsessive Bat fans, from the movie's deep-seated Nirvana influence to the surprising inspiration behind Penguin's disfigured appearance. Here are 10 fascinating facts we learned from this behind-the-scenes resource. One of the biggest challenges in translating Batman into live action has been creating a bat suit that, actually allows him to move enough that he can fight crime. They may not have cracked the code in the Tim Burton movies, but director Matt Reeves and his team seem to have figured it out. Reeves confirms that Lee Bermejo's artwork in graphic novels like Joker and Batman Damned was a huge source of inspiration for Robert Pattinson's new tactical suit. Costume designer Glenn Dillon also reveals that the bat suit was inspired by two very practical items, a Russian pressure suit and equestrian vests. The bat suit may look bulky, but there's a flexible core underneath all that armor. Pattinson's new Batsuit is crammed full of wonderful toys, only some of which he actually unleashes during the course of the film. The Art of the Batman gives us a much better look at the inner workings of the Batsuit and its hidden gadgets, including the spring-loaded grapple gun that Dillon reveals was directly inspired by Robert De Niro's character in Taxi Driver. We also learned that those rods on Batman's gauntlets are actually throwing darts. The book even settles one of the bigger questions surrounding the film, that glowing green substance Batman injects himself with during the climax of the film. It isn't venom, as some fans have speculated, but rather simple epinephrine. The idea is that every tool in this Batman's arsenal is very practical and similar to ones used by actual police officers and military personnel. As you might expect, The Art of the Batman devotes an entire chapter to the new Batmobile. As imposing as this armored-up muscle car is, it's also designed to be just grounded enough that Batman can drive around Gotham without attracting too much attention. Unless he wants to, of course. It turns out that no fewer than 4 Batmobiles were built for the film's production. 3 of them had the sort of high horsepower engines you'd expect in a muscle car, but the 4th one was actually an electric car. That eco-friendly Batmobile was built specifically for shots that needed more special effects, where a noisy gas-guzzling engine might get in the way. The Batman breaks from tradition by making Bruce Wayne's base of operations not stately Wayne Manor, but a grungy abandoned train station beneath Wayne Tower. As the book explores, this was a purposeful alteration aimed at putting Bruce Wayne in the heart of his city for a change. Matt Reeves writes, "For me, one of the main references for the tower was the Maysles brothers' documentary Grey Gardens, about a reclusive mother and daughter living alone in an old derelict New York mansion. The idea of getting the decay to show through so that you can see what once was but is no longer, and that sense of the beauty of decay and how that was reflective of Bruce, of his character, was key. He doesn't care about any of the traditional family history anymore." The first trailer for The Batman made a strong impression thanks to its use of a remixed version of Nirvana's Something in the Way, a tune that's featured prominently in the final film as well. But long before Pattinson was cast, Reeves was already drawing inspiration from the late Kurt Cobain and that song in particular for his take on Bruce Wayne. Reeves also reveals he was heavily influenced by the Gus Van Sant film Last Days, which also features a very Cobain-esque main character. Reeves writes, "He's in this decaying old wreck of a home, and in the living room he's got his amps and his electric guitars, and I thought, well, this is our version of Bruce Wayne." The Batman takes some cues from the Batman Earth 1 series of graphic novels when it comes to portraying Alfred Pennyworth. This is an Alfred with a harder edge, one who taught Bruce many of the skills he uses in his nightly outings as Batman. But The Art of the Batman goes even deeper into this mostly unseen history between Bruce and Alfred. Actor Andy Serkis provides a possible origin story for Alfred, suggesting that he originally worked for British intelligence before establishing a career as a personal bodyguard for wealthy families. That may be how Serkis's Alfred came to live with the Waynes, and it helps explain why there's an emotional distance between Alfred and Bruce. Alfred never signed up for the responsibility of being Bruce's adoptive father, and he has trouble connecting with Bruce on an emotional level. But hey, at least he can teach the boy how to survive the mean streets of Gotham. Batman isn't the only character who relies on real-world military surplus gear to fill out his arsenal in the movie. That's how Paul Dano's Riddler, a low-level accountant with few resources of his own, makes his ambitious campaign of terror possible. In fact, Riddler's mask has a surprisingly mundane origin story. The costume designers were hunting around online when they found a winter combat mask listed on eBay. That, combined with other military surplus gear from the US and Germany, created a very different and less flamboyant Riddler costume. The Batman paints a very different picture of iconic Gotham crime lord Carmine Falcone. By the end of the film, we learn Falcone rose to power by colluding with the GCPD and orchestrating the arrest of Sal Maroni, which basically makes him the Whitey Bulger of the DC universe. However, production designer James Chinland reveals that John Turturro's Falcone was influenced by another real-world figure. Falcone and his base of operations in the Tri-Corner Bridge were inspired by Robert Moses, who ran New York City's corruption-plagued Triborough Commission and who reportedly set up shop directly beneath the city toll plaza. Colin Farrell undergoes the most startling physical transformation in The Batman, as he's basically unrecognizable underneath all that makeup and prosthetic work. As the book reveals, even Farrell's co-stars didn't always recognize him on set. Zoe Kravitz puts it best when she says, "Still to this day, actually, because I've only met Colin a few times outside of this film, I feel like I don't know Colin Farrell, I know the Penguin." At the same time, there's something oddly familiar about this take on the Penguin, likely because his disfigured appearance was inspired by a very specific and very iconic movie gangster. Farrell's prosthetic nose is modeled very closely on actor John Cazale, who played Fredo Corleone in the Godfather movies. Oz may look like Fredo, but he certainly doesn't behave like Fredo.
I can handle things, I'm smart! Not like everybody says! Like dumb, I'm smart and I want respect!
The Batman's version of Gotham City is a decaying metropolis that draws in elements of New York City, Pittsburgh, and Chicago, as well as UK cities like London and Liverpool. Much of the Gotham landscape we see in the film was created through special effects, which forced Reeves to think outside the box when it came to building sets and making Gotham feel like a real, tangible place. The book reveals just how much Reeves and his crew took advantage of new technologies to create this Gotham. Rather than just relying on traditional storyboards, Chinland would often design virtual sets, allowing Reeves and director of photography Greg Fraser to explore them using VR headsets and plan out their shots. The crew also relied heavily on new technology called LED volume capture. Rather than filming Pattinson and his co-stars against simple green screen backgrounds, volume capture allows the crew to project complex lighting, simulating everything from the neon glow of Gotham's red light district to the headlights of passing cars. All this fancy tech helps this fake Gotham City feel just a little more real. Those are just some of the fascinating tidbits revealed in The Art of the Batman, which is available in stores now. For more on the future of the Batman franchise, make sure you're following and subscribe to IGN wherever you like to watch.
Any of this mean anything to you?